How's everybody doing this Saturday afternoon? We're so glad you're joining us today for our special program on social media, on managing your local Rose Society social media program. I'm John Corcoran, your executive director. I will now hand this over to Gary. By the way, before I do that, I do want to mention our special program that you saw up on your screen about the Rose Atlas. If you would like to know more, please visit www.rose.org. But this is a special offer for anybody that is brand new to the American Rose Society as a full paid member, or someone who donates to the annual fund at $150 and above will get this beautiful Rose Atlas book, thanks to a gift from the Beverly Hills Rose Society. Gary?
Thank you, John. My name is Gary Chan. I'm president of the Sierra Foothill Rose Society and one of the many volunteers working with American Rose Society. Today, we have a wonderful program titled Managing Your Local Rose Society Social Media by Emily Hahn, a communications specialist. Once the presentation is completed, we will go into a 45-minute question and answer session. You will raise your hand. I will call on you. I will unmute you, and you'll unmute yourself and ask your question, and Emily will answer your question.
Hello, everyone. This is Elena Williams, Chair of the American Rose Society Social Media Committee. Earlier this year, we sent out a survey to local Rose Societies about their use of social media and how we could help the local Rose Societies in managing social media. The program you're about to see is a direct result of the survey responses. Thank you to everyone who took the time to reply. We are fortunate to have a talented young woman, Emily Hamann, as our presenter today. Emily is an award-winning graphic designer, digital artist, avid photographer, and social media manager living in Shreveport, Louisiana. She works at the American Rose Society as associate editor and communications specialist. You might recognize her work laying out the magazine, running various social media pages, and more. As well as her work for the ARS, she teaches 4 varying college classes at Digital Media Institute and works under her LLC, Social Butterfly Advertising and Design. Her love of people and the community keep her busy with various groups, nonprofits, and volunteer endeavors. The most recent being her and her friends' grassroots free community closet, Out of the Closet. Thank you, Emily, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this for y'all. Just let me know whenever you're ready and I'll dive right in.
Go ahead, Emily.
All righty. Okay. So right off the bat, once again, thank you guys for filling out that survey. I know it's kind of a very broad question. What do you need help with on social media? Well, social media kind of stretches to so many different realms, as I'm sure you're aware of. Or if you're just aware of your Facebook and that's just kind of where you're starting, this might be the perfect kind of seminar for you. So we're going to cover a lot of topics, and if there's some stuff that just kind of completely goes over your head, that's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that I kind of peppered in stuff for people at every different stage. So diving in, a lot of the responses, I would say about 50% of them were, we're all old, we can't do this, this is a young person's game. And I just want to start by saying it's not just a young person's game. With everything else, it takes practice. It's not as hard as it seems, so anybody can get into it. It's just, if it's completely new, it's going to be a little bit difficult for anybody. The same as if I were to just jump into a garden and start rose growing, I would probably reach out to y'all for help. So one of the main things was, it's hopeless, there's no way. And it kind of made me a little bit sad because it really can be done. It just kind of takes motivation. It takes learning a couple new tricks and a lack of fear for messing up, because all you need to do is practice. And what's the worst that can happen if you mess up? If you type something wrong, post it on the wrong page, I mean, you can just go and delete it. With all that being said, a lot of people said it's just a lot of work. We can't find any one person who wants to take it on. And that is totally fair. That's something I tell to my clients all the time. It's a really big responsibility for just one person to run. Even when I take on a social media management client, I let them know at the beginning, it's a team effort. It at least has to be us two working as a team so that we can play to our skills, because I can't be at everybody's events every single time. So I have to rely on somebody to be there to take the pictures, take the content, take video, send it over to me. One of the best ways I think to break it up as far as local rose societies would be to, at the very least, find two people. One can be a content curator. I know you got to have somebody in your rose society who's passionate enough to at least want to take pictures at the events. And I know for the most part, a lot of y'all do have them because you send the pictures to us for the magazine. So the first person would be somebody who is your content curator. They're going to gather photos. They could even write body copy for posts. They can make designs, not really make designs, but just come up with some sort of content for your page. And that person doesn't have to be especially tech savvy. It can be somebody who's a good writer, someone who's a good photographer. It could even be somebody who is good at, just knows people and knows how to find, you know, posters or event pages, or just contact people about events going on. So that person doesn't necessarily have to be super tech savvy or social media savvy. And then the second person would be somebody who is your organizer. They would schedule the posts, they might find events to share, they might post stories or live videos at events. So we kind of split up the work by the type of work we're doing rather than the platform. There was a couple of responses that said, well, we have somebody who runs Instagram, somebody who runs Facebook, somebody who runs this, but it's all scattered and all over the place. I encourage you to kind of separate it into like a team-based system. And it basically starts with those two. If you can find two people, it splits that work up. Like, it should not take anything more than like maybe a couple hours a week. And even if you just post something once a week, maybe an hour a week. So how do you find somebody? That was the main thing that everyone said once again is, yeah, but even if we did have people who wanted, like, if we don't know how to do it, how do we actually find somebody? So one of the things that I found in working in other nonprofits and boards is if you have somebody run for a position, if you give it a title, like a communications specialist or communications director, social media director, something like that, those titles really help push like an initiative, and it gives somebody, rather than them thinking, oh, I'm doing this for free, they might think, I have a position, I'm being recognized. It's something that maybe y'all aren't super worried about putting things on your resume, but maybe you just like titles. So that's one of the things that I've run into is titles help with initiatives, awards, words of affirmation, recognizing them for their hard work. All that really helps build initiative to want to do these things. Half of the reasons I pick and stay with the clients that I pick is because they let me know when I'm doing a good job. They boost my self-esteem. It really helps to just kind of communicate with that. I communicate with the people on that team with you. So ask around. You can hire somebody if you have something extra in your budget. I know there's a lot of graphic designers who do nonprofit pricing, and there's a lot of graphic designers who are jumping into the social media management realm of what we do. So if you have that in your budget, or you could get donations for something like that, you could get somebody to do it as low as $100. And then worst case scenario, do you have a niece or a grandkid who owes you a big favor? Because they can kind of help you get the ball rolling. So another big question was, we don't really need one. Why would we need one? There's not like a huge drive to get one. And I understand that it can be a lot of work. And if you already have a pretty good membership, or you already have a pretty good local rose society size, why even get more? And a really big reason for that is to grow your following. We want to reach more people. You want to find more volunteers. A lot of people said that we need to find more volunteers. And yeah, it's kind of this endless cycle of, well, we need more volunteers to run the page, but we also need to find more volunteers for the other events that we have. And Facebook is a really, really great way to do that. I've had people join nonprofits that I ran their Facebook page just from seeing a post. And if you posted maybe like 4 months in a row, never got anything, and then boom, get one more member, that's still worth it. So you have to think about what's the return on investment. If you put in 5 hours a month to this and you get one member every 5 months, that's still growing over time. So you're going to really get out of this what you put into it. So growing your following, reaching more people, finding volunteers, and then staying in touch with us, the American Rose Society, and others. So even if your membership doesn't really do social media, there might be a new member, a new younger member out there who's just waiting to be reached, but they just don't even know you exist yet. So we have to kind of open up the avenues to which we're reaching people. There were 233 million Facebook users in the United States of America alone last year, which accounted for 69% of the entire population of people on Facebook. So everybody's on Facebook, whether they know how to use it or not. Even my grandma, she does not know how to use it. She just responds to all my comments as if she's texting me, and that's fine. That's still a way to communicate with her. So how can they kind of help outside of the society is what I want to jump to next. Like these skills are not singular to just your Rose Society. These are skills that can kind of translate as you go along. One of the main things that I try, this is going to kind of be that one where it's like a big umbrella term, and it might kind of be a little confusing to think about at first, but search engine optimization. We talk about this a lot when we talk about web design. It's basically when I Google cupcake shop near me, whoever is the first person to come up is the person who has the best search engine optimization. So search engine meaning Google, optimized meaning the best it can be. So one of the ways that we implement this SEO, we'll just call it SEO from now on, is by having multiple listings across the web for your Rose Society. That will increase the flow of traffic to your pages. So whether you have a Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, website, whatever it is you're running, the more you have, even if you're not updating them all the time, if you just have a LinkedIn or you just have a Google business and you never post to them, which is totally fine. I don't post to mine, I just have them. It helps to have all of these different platforms with the same information, the same phone number, address, name, phone number, address, name, the same on all of these. And what it does is it starts to tell Google and all these other search engines that you are real. This is an updated Rose Society, and it does exist, meaning it's going to pull you up in searches, because all Google's main job is to provide information as easily as possible. It wants to give us, the users, a really good experience on their website, because of course that's how they make money. That's how they keep people coming there. So by you having a Facebook or having an Instagram and having a Google business or whatever social media you want, you're kind of telling Google, hey, we are here. So consistent, well-working listings will secure your spots higher up in those rankings. And I know that's a super broad term, but we just think about it as it's just one of those good web practices for getting noticed. So if that's the only takeaway from it, perfect. Another huge benefit for running your social media is communication. We want to get in touch and we want to stay in touch. So even outside of your Rose Society, wouldn't you guys just love to communicate with old friends from high school, keep up with your kids and your grandkids, see pictures, and just have a better experience online overall? A lot of people that I help, because I teach social media management to people as well, that's actually kind of my favorite client. I'd rather teach you to do it than continue to run your pages, because at the end of the day, I'll be running like 30 pages and I'm running all over the place. But it's really nice to be able to hear from my clients who are like, wow, I was able to watch a TV show on Facebook with my granddaughter the other day. And I just thought that that was so sweet. And like getting to sit there with my grandma and teach her, okay, this is how you post something to Instagram. If you want to tag me in something so I can see it, this is how you do it. And sure, it's a little chaotic at times, but it's opening up a different form of communication. And we're reaching a different generation. I mean, we're reaching a lot of different generations. I mean, Gen Z, I'm millennial, but I mean, Facebook, I would say, is actually millennial and above, whereas Instagram is kind of millennial and Gen Z. So a lot of different platforms are going to reach a lot of different age groups, and just kind of realizing which platforms they're on and targeting them specifically can be really beneficial. But yeah, so these skills are good for a lot more than just running your local Rose Society. And honestly, you could practice with your friends and your family before you jump straight into it. And I promise you'll get better. So what kind of accounts are there? And a big question that y'all were asking was, well, we have a Facebook, what else do we need? So Facebook is the big one. What is this platform good for? I would say to grow your followers. It's one of the easiest, especially like working with the ARS. Facebook has been incredibly responsive, second to Instagram. It's great for spreading the word on the events that you have, because Facebook will pull your events organically and show them to people who they think might be interested. So you might have 50 gardeners in your city who are just avid gardeners and have told Facebook, I'm interested in gardening things, and your events will start pulling up to them. And that's super important, because those are the people that you might convert to members. Members of your Rose Society, not specifically the ARS. That's our job to target them. But so it's really good for spreading the word on events. You can run ads, which is super easy. You could throw $25 on a post that you made, and a bunch of people will see it. Or you can just keep posting, and it might pull up organically anyway. It's really great for sharing photos, good for live streams. So if you have a really cool like award ceremony you're doing, you could put like a live video up, let people just kind of see what you're doing before they kind of dip their toes in and join. It's also really great for a website substitute. A lot of people mentioned, we want a website, but it's expensive and it's time consuming and all these other things. We will get to that, because the website is a whole nother ball game. But it's a great website substitute. I always tell my clients, I'm like, sure, you don't have the money to pay me to do a website right now, but we at least need to get you a Facebook up. And one of the reasons why I say that is a lot of people in my generation, we are going to go to your Facebook first, because we can see an overall snapshot of what you're doing. We can see your pictures. We can get to your website if we want to, because you'll have your website. Your phone number will be there. Your address will be there. It has all these tabs, you know, jobs, community, videos, posts, photos, all this, all on one. And you don't have to build that yourself. You just have to populate it with photos and content. So I'll go to people's Facebooks to see if they're even active. I go to restaurant Facebooks way more often than I go to their websites, because local restaurant websites are never that great. But I always say the worse the food, the better the worse the website, the better the food. But yeah, so I'm going to go to your Facebook to see if you're even active, because that's where you're going to be posting things like, hey, we're closed for the weather, or hey, we have a new brunch special happening this weekend. Those things don't often get put on a website. So I'm going to go to your Facebook first, and then if I need more information, I'll see if you have a website. And we see that trend happening pretty often, which is why it's really good to just have this Facebook set up with all of your information. Even if you're not posting to it all the time, it helps to just have something that says, hey, once again, we are here. So this platform is for everybody. More specifically, people who want to grow their society but don't have the money to hire marketers. It's also really great for people with little to no website knowledge. So if you're really wanting to dive into social media and just give it a try, I recommend starting with Facebook and then going from there. The upkeep is as much or as little as you want to engage, but if you're gonna have a page that you want to say, hey, we're actively running it, I encourage you to post at the very least once a week, even if it's just sharing something from the ARS, from a different Rose Society, from one of your members. Let's say they took a beautiful photo in their garden. You can just share things. You don't have to create the content, but at least post once a week to show Facebook, we're here. The Facebook groups, also, I've seen a lot of ARS Facebook groups, and I see them used in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I wish I could tell them, hey, this should go on your Facebook page rather than the Facebook group. So what Facebook groups are good for is keeping up with your members. People who are closer to joining or your membership, those are the only people you should admit into these groups. It's great for fostering engagement with your membership. It's great for bouncing ideas back and forth before it goes on your official page. But beware, I encourage you to keep it private, because if you just add anybody or let anybody join, you'll get a lot more spam. I saw a lot of people responding to the survey saying we just get so much spam on our Facebook group. In Facebook groups, everybody is going to get a notification about what you post in there, which is different from a page. A page, some people might, but Facebook groups are just more concentrated information, which is why it's better to just have it like membership and people who are very close, or just people you know, because that's not really how you're going to get new members. Your page will draw them to the group, and the group is how you keep everybody active and engaged. So who they're for is somebody who already has a Facebook and somebody who knows the basics of Facebook. Once you get into running that group, it pretty much prompts you for everything. You just have to make sure you know how to make it private and make sure that everybody else can post to it. The upkeep is a lot less upkeep for the manager. So if you're the social media manager of your local Rose Society, I encourage you to start a Facebook group because the content will come in and it's a lot less work for you because everybody else can post there. So essentially what you'll have is this private group where not everything's public, and you can just sift through all the content and the videos and the pictures, and you can choose what to share to the official page. So the social media manager has to do little to no upkeep on that. They just kind of have to be the admin of it. The next one is Instagram. So this platform is good for getting recognized organically. I can't tell you how many people have signed up for the American Rose Society just because we post beautiful pictures of roses. I have like 10 people in our inbox who just reply. I just kept seeing them liking all of our rose photos. And then eventually they'd message us, and then they would view our stories. And then, oh, lo and behold, now they're a member. So it's really good for getting recognized organically. And by organically, I mean we're not paying to be seen. It's amazing for sharing beautiful images, and we're the American Rose Society, so I know everybody has some beautiful images of roses. It's basically a gigantic photo album. It's also really good for videos and for running ads, just like Facebook. This platform is for somebody who can take photos or collaborate with others to find them. I take a lot of photos, but not of roses because I don't have roses. But almost all the photos y'all see on the American Rose Society Facebook and Instagram are ones that we get from membership. So as long as you're crediting people, asking if you can share their photo, once again, free content. The upkeep is relatively easy. It doesn't require heavy design work because a photo will do just fine. And I can't tell y'all how much the American Rose Society membership loves a rose photo. If I want the page to like light up for a day, I'm just going to post a beautiful rose photo. All right, let's see. But yeah, so photos of your local Rose Society, I find our membership really likes to see pictures of roses first and then people. So if you're just posting pictures of like your membership and y'all at events or just gardening and your roses and your gardens, I think you're doing just fine. The next one is YouTube. I know y'all are aware of all of these movers and shakers in the rose growing community because they have really great YouTube videos. They are good for getting recognized organically as well. They're great for tutorial videos, providing education to members, and then videos of events, garden tours, or the Rose Geek had an unboxing video the other day that was really adorable. So stuff like that all does very well on YouTube. This platform is for somebody who can take and slightly edit videos or collaborate with others to find and make them. If you have an iPhone, you already have very basic video editing software on it. All it takes is a quick YouTube tutorial to figure out how to use it. I will say though that it does take a bit to edit videos. So if you can get it right on the first try, or you just set it up on a tripod and just don't mess with it, that'll be fine too. So YouTube, I would say you don't really need one unless you're actually going to post to it, unless you really have some videos that you want to share, but it's something to consider in the future. It's very easy to post, but it's not as easy to create the content. So running it is very easy, but finding things for it, not as easy. And then there's Twitter. So this platform is good for, once again, getting recognized organically, sharing quick thoughts and hot takes, meaning just quick little thoughts, just little tidbits. It's also great for news or story sharing, going viral, or funny and non-serious content. A lot of my clients, I recommend they don't get a Twitter. If you're not going to update it and you don't have the right tone for it, I don't think it's all that necessary. I would say unless you have somebody who really understands social media, you really working on your Rose Society, you really probably don't need to worry about Twitter all that much. So there's one off of your plate. This platform is somebody who can be very in the moment posting, and for somebody who's quick-witted and quick to find good shareable content. And there's plenty of reputable rosarians who are on Twitter, and you could just retweet them and boom, you've got reputable content that you didn't have to create yourself. The upkeep is relatively very easy to post, but not as easy to create specific content for it. So tips on getting started. All right, so start by making an account. John, am I able to jump to a different screen on this? Get out of the...
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Facebook is, most of these are relatively easy. When you just type in facebook.com, instagram.com, or youtube.com, if you don't have an account, it's going to prompt you to log in or sign up. Facebook, so let's just go back. I think I can, here we go. Okay. And I would like, okay, one of the things that I want to stress is that you're very careful when creating, and y'all, this is Facebook, so if you see some crazy stuff, just know that I didn't post it. All right. One of the things that I want to stress when you're creating, I'm just going to go to mine here. When you're creating your Facebook is to create a profile first if you don't have one, and then you need to create the page secondarily. So these are all of the pages that I run. Let's say you already have an account, and if you don't have an account and you don't know how to make one, you can reach out to me and I will walk you through the process of it, but it is relatively easy. Just create your page as yourself. So if I'm new to Facebook, I'm gonna log on and I'm gonna create an account for Emily Hamann. Next, and it will prompt you, the little pages icon, I will create a page for the American Rose Society or whatever your Rose Society is. And it walks you through it very easily. So your page name, your category, I wonder if they have society. Yeah, we've got nonprofit organization, which y'all fall under. And then you can give a little description. We are the whatever Rose Society. We're dedicated to this, that, or the other. We meet on these months. And then from there, we can populate it with graphics, our logo, if you don't have a logo, creating a post, all of that. And Instagram kind of works the same way. For the most part, Facebook and Instagram are run by the same person, so they are going to make sure that it's pretty easy to create an account. And while you're creating these accounts, I really encourage you to have a unified email for your Rose Society. And I'm going to recommend you use Gmail because you can link your YouTube up to it if you have one. You can create a Google Calendar. You can use Google Drive to just share documents with each other. And once you get to use it, like Google's, all of their platform, all of their little apps are incredibly seamless. It works really great for a group, especially if not everybody is super tech savvy. We hear people complain at the ARS about Dropbox all the time. The Google Drive is essentially an easier Dropbox. But yeah, so start with one profile or start with all these pages, use the same unified email so that if somebody moves on from the Rose Society, you don't lose access to those pages. A lot of what I do is troubleshooting and trying to trying to save somebody's page that they've lost adminship to, and it would be very much so solved with just the same email. So when you start with your Instagram, use the same email. Make sure everybody has access to like a password sheet in like some shared location. Once again, I'm going to recommend Google Drive. I promise I don't work for Google. I just really like it. So Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same person. So eventually, if you get both, they're going to want you to link them up and you can post at the same time and you'll save yourself a lot of time. So if you have a beautiful photo and you're like, I'm better at posting on Instagram because the platform's just easier, you can post something on Instagram and it'll say, would you also like to share this to your Facebook page? And you never even have to open Facebook. YouTube and Google are tied together as well. So it just helps with the seamless, streamline kind of process, I would say. And all of these, they have plenty of tutorials about how to set all these up. But once again, if you need some help, you can always reach out to me. If you just say, hey, I got locked out, I'm stuck at this process, I promise I can help. Okay, so once we've created the page, we have these shells done, but we have to brand it. So designs, we have cover photo, profile pictures, banners, event covers, and there are different dimensions for each platform. So if anybody wants the link to this PDF, I can send it to you because all of these links will still be live on it and you can just click through here. But if you just Google different dimensions for each platform, it'll tell you what size you need to make your cover photos and your profile pictures and all that. But let's say I'm already losing you with just talking about dimensions. I'm going to recommend, if you are a super beginner, and we'll get to in a second, to use Canva. It is very, very simple design software. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, then you're already ahead of the game. I don't need to tell you how to design, because if you know how to use Illustrator, you already know where to go and what to design. So one of the reasons this is really important is branding just helps. It'll allure people. It will help solidify who you are to your membership and to like maybe your city even. Your cover photo doesn't have to be something incredibly design savvy and just intricate. It could just be a picture of your entire group at an event in a garden, just a really good picture. And then your profile picture should just be your logo. So when I say like making it pretty, people want to see you and they want to know that you're reputable. So that logo, cover photo will do just fine. So let's see, Canva, let's walk through that. I recommend this to all of my clients. It's not like any groundbreaking tool. A lot of people know about it. But what it is it takes a lot of the guesswork out of designing. So I can just click right here. Well, let's start with the brand book first. Let's say you've got a lot of people logging on to this. You can create a brand kit for your society. You can name it. Let's just say American oh my gosh, Society. Okay. And I can upload my logo, so it'll always be there. And you can include color palettes, like let's say we only want to use 6 different colors. And then it'll kind of help you walk through picking fonts. So then when you go, once you've got all this set up, we'll just work with one of the ones that I already have. Let's say I need to make a Facebook post. Facebook. Now that I've searched that, it pulls up all of these already designed templates that are pre-sized specifically for Facebook. And you can do that from up here as well. So you've got Facebook post, you can make a poster, you can make a PowerPoint, you can even make a video, your Facebook cover photo, Instagram. It's got all these things that are already, it takes all the guesswork out. So you don't have to go to school and know all these file dimensions, know how to save things out, because for the most part, it's going to do it for you. You can make brochures for your Rose Society, postcards, whatever, you name it. I'm pretty sure Canva has a template for it. So let's just start with a Facebook post. All right, notice that there's all of these templates over here that I can pick from, or I could even just search. I'm gonna do meeting. Okay, let's start with, yeah, let's pretend this is a virtual meeting. It's relatively simple. We can change the colors of things by clicking on them. You can change all of these pieces of text that already exist. I can even go over to these elements and I can add new things, search for things. A lot of what I do, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, we need a webinar graphic up and we need it up yesterday, I'm gonna knock it out on Canva real quick. Sure, I can open up one of my other graphic design platforms, but with social media, things get seen once. So I try and work smarter, not harder, because if I spent an hour on a post and it's only gonna be seen once on Facebook, it'd be a little bit smarter to just knock it out in 15 minutes on here and it'll still look really pretty and branded. So I do a lot of super quick stuff on the go. If I'm like in the car with somebody and they're like, hey, I need to post up, I can make this in my car. Not driving, of course, if I'm the passenger. But yeah, so we can drag and drop photos. I can change the colors to whatever my branded colors are. So see, I've got a whole tab over here of all the different clients that I'm running theirs on. So if I just wanted to brand it for DMI, the school that I teach with, it's very, very simple. And once again, with these larger companies, they're going to be really good about having tutorials for you, which is such a godsend. Okay, and if at the end, if you want me to show you a couple more on here, I totally will. I just don't want to like take up the entire time doing this. You can resize it for everything else, but for the most part, if you're making something for Facebook, it'll be the perfect size for Instagram. Then all you have to do is download. And you can follow these suggested tips for it as well. They're very, very good about knowing what you're making things for and walking you through it. And once you get to practicing at it, you can knock things out in a breeze. Yeah, it just makes graphic design really easy for people who don't have like the training for it, which I'm all for. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, here we go. All right, so how about Eblasts? We went over social media as far as like websites, but what about Eblasts? It seems like y'all pretty much have a really good handle on them, but a couple people did ask, how do I go about making them? And if you're semi-tech savvy or there is somebody in your Rose Society who is, get them to set you up on like MailChimp, Constant Contact. There are tons of eBlast builders. So find one that works for you. I like MailChimp a lot. I just think that it's very easy to use. I'm constantly about take out all of the services that I don't need. I don't need all these fancy bells and whistles. I need exactly what I need, and I need it easy and understandable. I want it to be spoon-fed for my clients, and I want it to be spoon-fed for me if it's the first time I'm using it. So MailChimp is really nice because you can just upload graphics and then link them to external things. So I recommend if you have never done it before and you want it to look really, really pretty and catch users' eyes, or if you are pretty good about making your eBlast, but you're like, we're not getting such great membership, I encourage you to make some headers and stuff or make some images on Canva as just a way to break up content. Fragrant Rose is made, all of those banners are made in like Illustrator or Canva, and then they're just dragged and dropped, and then the text that you can highlight is typed out. So I'm trying to make it as pretty as possible, but I can do that with image breakups. Like when you get an email from Domino's and it's all their coupons and you can't highlight the text and you just click it and it takes you to their website, it's just one big graphic. Like that's why it looks so beautiful. Because I remember when I first started making eBlasts, I was like, mine don't look as pretty as I want them to. Well, that's why, it's because I wasn't making them all in one image. Yeah, so just plug in the graphics and link them to your site. And now websites. So many people asked about those, and there's a lot of caveats, the upsides, the downsides, and the costs. So what are they good for? They are really, really good for reaching local people, pulling up on searches like on Google. If someone's just looking, if I Googled gardening club and you had a website that had that was just really good, you would pull up and I'd be more likely to join. It's a concentrated spot for all of your Rose Society's information. We're talking event meeting, contacts, publications, education, images, all that kind of stuff. It'll just help increase overall traffic to your other pages, and it's a way to like unify all your social media, all of your events. But once again, Facebook can house pretty much all of that. You can get to your Instagram through Facebook. You can get to your other social media through Facebook. But if you're really tech savvy and you want a website and you can run one, I encourage you to do so. But who are they for? They're for people who have web design building skills or have a background in it, or who are pretty tech savvy with computers and can learn. It's also for somebody who has plenty of time to learn these basic web builders, or for people with a pretty good budget to hire somebody. And then once again, for people who have a grandkid, a niece, or a nephew who owes them a really big favor. So I'll say this, if you want somebody to make a website for you, you should expect to pay around, I mean, $1,500, but that's very, very low. And I don't know if the website will be that great. They just might owe you a favor and then it'll be a good one. They just gave you a really good discount or a nonprofit discount. But websites can go up to like $3,500. They're not cheap, but if you shell out the money now to get one, it will work very well. The more money you pay and put into it, the better it will work. I mean, it's just the quality of work. I can't tell you how many times my clients have asked for what my prices for web design are, and I've given them a quote and they've been like, oh my gosh, that's way too much. And then they go with somebody else, one of these cookie cutters, like I think Vistaprint is making websites now. And they go with one of these cookie cutter people who aren't really asking them questions, who are just building them a shell website. and it's terrible and it doesn't perform right, and then they've already spent $1,500 and they have to come back to me and they have to spend the initial quote plus what they already spent. And that is tragic, especially for local businesses who are my favorite clients to work with. The upkeep on a website is ideally weekly to monthly, just as active as you want to be. I always encourage people who have already spent a bunch of money on a website. I'm like, post blog posts, like 10 of the best roses to grow this year, or 5 best roses for growing in this zone, 15 up and coming rose growers to watch out for. These blog posts, those monthly updates, is what keeps you pulling up for those search results, because the more keywords you have, rose growing, rosarians, the more keywords you're putting on your website, the more it's going to pull up in searches and the more reputable your website is going to look. So ideally, weekly to monthly updates, blog posts, get yourself seen, become a mover and shaker on the internet as far as roses. If you type in rose anything, the American Rose Society page pulls up, not because like our website is the best in the entire world, or because it's because we have so many keywords, we have so many images, we have so much content on there. And eventually, you know, people search for it and it pulls up. And you guys visit our website pretty often. That helps as well. The more visits your website gets, the more it tells Google, hey, this is a pretty reputable website. It's possible as well, ideally, yeah, weekly to monthly, but also you could just have a static website. And it doesn't require as much maintenance. It's just like this central hub for information. It's got like your hours, it's got a calendar of events, and that's tied to your Google Calendar and it updates automatically. But if you don't update it, like we could keep this shell of just all your normal information, but if you don't ever update it ever again, we don't have accurate info. Somebody could take over it. When I first started at the American Rose Society like 8 years ago, I got everybody to send me a list, or I went through the entire list of the local rose societies and their websites, and you will not believe how many had been hacked and turned into some gnarly stuff, y'all. I had to send out these emails and be like, I am so sorry to tell you this, but you need to get in contact with whoever is doing your website and you need to take this down ASAP. And it's really tragic. But yeah, somebody's niece or nephew made them a website 6 years ago. It's never been touched, and they sour a little bit, or they're not updated, they break, and then somebody hacks, they realize nobody's updating this or protecting it or securing it, and so somebody takes it. And that's not always the case. Mostly what I found with that list of all everyone's websites is they lost their URLs, or they didn't get their hosting renewed or something like that. Just little things. So if you have a website, or you think your Rose Society has a website, please put on your to-do list to just type it in, just check it, just see what's happening with it if you haven't in a minute. Okay, web building. So it is possible to build your site with little to no experience, but what you're really going to need is time. So ask yourself before you sit down and dedicate all that time for it, is it actually worth it for our society? Would a Facebook do just the same thing? Would the Facebook be just better to run? Do I really have somebody who will maintain it and make sure it doesn't break? I always say to my students, I say to everybody, work smarter, not harder. Like, if the Facebook will work for you, go for that. Because I don't want to like encourage everybody to go build a website and then you're all just frustrated and angry and hate me later. I don't want that. So if you do decide and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty tech savvy, I could try it, do some research, find a web builder that's good for you. I recommend Wix for people who are brand new to it. It's pretty easy, drag and drop, change out the content. Squarespace is really easy to make a really pretty one as well. It just can be a little convoluted, but they have plenty of tutorials. First of all, I'm not going to advise y'all to use any tool that doesn't have plenty of tutorials or that I can't personally help you with. If you are a little bit more tech savvy, you could go with something like GoDaddy, or you could go with something like GoDaddy or WordPress, or something like that. I like WordPress because it's got extreme functionality, and it requires some know-how on coding and the terms and concepts of web design by itself. But there are other plugins that will eliminate that coding and difficulty. I use Elementor because it turns WordPress into a drag and drop. So I saw a lot of people saying that they use WordPress for stuff. I saw people saying that like they use WordPress, but it's a little bit difficult. Try out some of these external plugins. I promise they'll help. All right. Okay. All right, but beware the downsides of web building. Oops. Okay. So there are expensive tools. They're not always free. Not to mention hiring a designer will cost around $2,000. You're gonna need the training and the dedication. You're gonna need regular management and updating, which if you just hire a designer means you're gonna have to pay monthly fees for said updates, and it requires more time to learn and build. However, if you've already got your website up and you're pretty good about it, keep doing what you're doing. But it can be really rewarding building something from nothing. So if this is something that you want to take on, or encourage you to ask your membership, is this something that anybody has experience with, or something that someone wants to take on? Then give them a title and let them have a title within your Rose Society so that they have that affirmation, they have that reward essentially. Oops. Okay, posting. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. A lot of the questions y'all asked is, okay, we have a page, but we don't ever post to it, or why post to it, or what to post. So remember that team that we talked about earlier? So your team is going to be needing an admin for the page. So anybody who has adminship to the page can post to it. That doesn't mean everybody should. Whoever's role it is to post, or whoever has been like decided on, can post. So admins, editors, all of those different roles can post on Facebook. So let's look at this. You may not, it's a really quick tutorial. Let's go to this page. Okay. Oh, I'm not using that one. I'm gonna go to my. Okay, so let's say you have a page and somebody wants to take it on. This is the biggest question I get asked, and it's super simple, is how do we allow somebody to post onto our page? We have to make them an admin. So start by just, you're looking at your page, go to settings, and let's see, and then page roles. And all you have to do is type in their name or their email, and we have an admin that secures the page. So if I ever lose my Facebook, I will lose this whole page. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I really should add a second admin. You can also include people as editors, moderators, advertisers, or just custom. And they all have different abilities. An editor is somebody who can't make big changes to the page, like they can't delete the page or change the name of the page, but they can continuously post to it. So if you've got somebody who's really good at in the moment content, make them an editor, and then make 2 admins. I'd recommend it be like the president and the vice president of like your local Rose Society, or just like the higher ups. That way you have checks and balances in case anybody loses their Facebook. Okay, so Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all the other accounts, anybody with the login information can post. Just make sure that you're using a secure email that everybody has access to. Once again, I highly recommend Gmail. So how to post? On Facebook and Instagram, there is Business Suite and publishing tools, but there's also other softwares that I don't necessarily recommend because I just don't think they're super necessary. You can schedule a bunch of content ahead of time, but you can do all of that on Facebook as well. They just released a brand new version of their Business Suite and their publishing tools, and I really think that it changed the game a little bit. It's a really great schedule. I was spending like $75 a month on a scheduler, and now I can do everything. So if you're just looking at your page, you can create a post. I can type whatever I want in the body copy. Let's see. Yeah, I can type whatever I need in my body copy. I can add an image. I can post a link, and I'm gonna grab a link to. I'm just gonna do this link. This one. No preview? Oh well. Okay. From there, there's a lot of different things you can add to it. You can check in at different places. So if we were having a Shreveport Rose Society meeting at the downtown riverfront, I don't know where they meet. I know we wouldn't, but don't laugh at me. I can also post a feeling or an activity, feeling grateful. And it just starts to kind of add a little bit of flavor to your post. But if you want to schedule things rather than post in the moment, you can go to their business suite and you can schedule everything for Instagram and Facebook all here. Or if you don't want to schedule everything ahead of time and you just want to post things in the moment, that is perfectly fine. I will say there's a lot of different tools on here. Don't get super bogged down by the stuff you don't need. I think there we go. Okay. But yeah, so they have a pretty good scheduler. Oops. Yeah, I'm gonna keep editing. No, I don't want to keep editing. I'm gonna discard it. Publishing tools. Let's go here. It is a little bit new. Even like social media managers like me, we're all kind of just now learning the ins and outs of it. So let's see. Create a post. All right, and I can make it go to my Facebook and my Instagram from here. And once again, it'll kind of walk you through everything, but there are new tutorials, especially since this is a brand new platform. But it's the ease of use it's pretty nice. So I can type up my text right here. I can say, hey y'all. And then because Facebook and Instagram have different, what's the word? They have different platform capabilities, so I can put a link on a Facebook post, but I can't put a link on an Instagram post. They have this nifty little tool where I can say, hey all, I'm here with American, I think maybe it'll let me, Rose Society. So that's for Facebook, I can tag them. However, if I want it to be Instagram, this won't actually tag the American Rose Society's Instagram, so I can type different content for the Instagram post. Hey all, I'm here with, oops, I can't spell, American Rose Society. There we go. So it's really, really helpful to be able to schedule everything all at once. That's why I'm not like really pushing y'all to get, Twitter and YouTube, because everything's all in one place right here and I don't want to confuse anybody. You can add your photos, add your videos, and then it'll tell you optimal times. We'll talk about when's the best time to post as well, but it'll give you suggestions. A lot of these tools are made for people who don't do what I do, which is the good news. Shreveport, sure, Shreveport Hamann, and it's not going to let me add a photo or publish it because I didn't add a photo, but we don't need to do all that. Okay, so once that's scheduled and you picked your dates and your times, you can also go back and see how your posts are working on that same, I shouldn't have exited out, on that same Meta business suite. You can look at your insights, just see how your page is growing over time. That's one of my favorite things is just kind of seeing, because I know when I'm not posting as much, but this is a nice little refresher on it. I can see how well a post did as opposed to other ones so that I know. And that's how I learned which ones are doing better on the Rose Society pages, is by going to my insights and seeing what the results are and what content does better and what does better over time. So it's a really fun tool if you just want to get into it. It just became like a hobby at some point, and then it became very lucrative because everybody wanted their page ran. Okay, so your post checklist will be to create a graphic or procure an image, take an image, type up the body copy, and then you can go add hashtags to even more target your preferred audience. If you don't know anything about hashtags, it's just that like they're at the bottom of every post on Instagram. Go to your prominent Rosarians Instagrams, go to our Instagram, go to anybody else for examples of popular hashtags, and that's where you should kind of start. And you'll realize as you go along what hashtags you can use. Like you don't want to do hashtag here with the American Rose Society, but you could do hashtag American Rose Society or hashtag rose growers, rose lovers, all that will help. That goes back to that term of search engine optimization, SEO. It helps you get found because people are searching those hashtags to find things they're interested in. That's how all those people join the American Rose Society from the Instagrams. They're looking for rose stuff, so they're searching roses, and then they find the Rose Society, and the rest is history. Okay, so what to post? Rose photos, and I cannot stress this enough. You don't need totally dynamic content. You can share events from reputable sources. You could share articles. You can ask for input from your rosarians, ask a question, have them vote on their favorite rose in a collage. Rose photos do the best though. 9 times out of 10, that's what y'all want to see. So start by asking for rose photos. Say, hey, do you have a rose photo? We're looking for submissions. And then as they start to come in, the content already exists. All you have to do is, this is such and such rose from so-and-so's garden, and it is just beautiful. It grows well in these areas. And that's it. You don't have to go take the photos. You literally just had to organize the content. So when, the when is another one. Oh, a couple of different post types. This is what they're going to look like. If you just share an event from the American Rose Society, the graphic, or share an event from somebody else, the graphic already exists. You just had to type in the link and put it into that body of the post, and it pulls up that preview. You can share things from other people. You can make holiday posts, rose photos. See, like all of these ones, this one had the most likes. 120 people like this, and it was up for however long. You can also have people vote. You can have a cute little like this post for this one being your favorite. Love this post if this dog is your favorite. Not dogs, but roses, you know, just gardening things in general. And then of course you can just share articles, and all you have to do, let's see, rose growing. Let's just grab copy link. All I have to do to get that little preview to pop up. Okay, come on. Yeah, there we go. All I have to do is just paste that link and a preview comes up. Just as simple as that. Then you can even delete the link because it's messy and type up whatever you want. Hey, check this out. And boom, that's content you didn't have to create, but make sure that you are sharing from reputable sources. I don't have to tell you all that. Y'all probably, I have to check a lot of the things that I share through the committee because I don't know who everyone is reputable. And sometimes, I mean, even the one that I just pulled up, I might get an email about it and be like, they're not reputable. I don't know. But yeah, so when to post. Frequent posting is key. How much? I'd say ultimate dream goal would be once a day, but that is a lot. More avid people, sure, post every day, but median is about a couple times a week, you know, 2 to 3, and then bare minimum is like once a week. But hey, something is better than nothing. And the reason why we do that is because if you don't post frequently, you might go into what is called like a dormancy stage. That's where Facebook kind of sees your page as not active, and therefore it doesn't pull up organically on people's newsfeed. That newsfeed is just when you're scrolling through Facebook, everything that pulls up. Well, Facebook knows because of their algorithm what you're into. So every once in a while, it just pulls things from the pages that you like, and it just puts it on that newsfeed so that you can see it, or suggested recommended things. But yeah, dormancy says if you don't post ever, Facebook just stops recognizing you and stops pulling you up as frequently, which is not a great stage to be in. But if you at least just have your Facebook as like your stand-in website, at least that's something. The when is kind of ever changing, but a quick Google search will tell you what the most up-to-date best times to post is. But also on that schedule on Facebook, it'll tell you what's the most optimal time in real time. But I find that generally Tuesdays and Thursdays from like 1 to 2, when people are like coming back from their lunch break and they're like lethargic, is a pretty good time. But also think about your audience. So if you're trying to target specific people, when do they get out of church? When are they on their breaks? When are you on Facebook and social media? I'm on Facebook and social media during my lunch breaks, or when I get home from work, or when I'm at the gym. So I think about those times, and if I wanted to target somebody like me, those are the times that I would post. But if I wanted to target somebody like my grandma, I would post early in the morning, or I would post in the afternoons or something. But it's different for everybody. So think about who you're trying to reach with what you're posting, and that then kind of decide. But also that's just if you're getting super strategy about it. You don't have to really put that much thought into it. You can just kind of throw a post up and people will see it if they see it. So why? Everybody said, why do we have to post? Why do we have to have one in the survey? And it's literally just for that dormancy protection we talked about. We just don't want your page to go dead to Facebook. It's just better for organic reach, and it helps you grow your page over time. It indicates that you guys exist. So if somebody was interested in gardening and they found your page and they clicked on it and they saw that you hadn't posted since 2017, I'm probably not going to message you because I'm like, they probably don't actually exist. Darn, I really was interested in this group. So just posting once a week shows people you're an operating society and that there is somebody there. Let's see. So with that being said, let's get our pages growing. I just want to give you all a couple of tips on how to increase your following, reach more people, and to really grow that Rose Society. Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to grow your society, then yeah, social media is not right for you. And that's totally up to you and your society. But if you really do want to grow it in a different way, social media is definitely key. So growing a following. Invite all of your friends. Have a day where you make everybody bring their phones and just pull up the Facebook and invite all of your friends to just like it. Even if they're not super into rose growing, they could at least just support what you're doing. I like all of the rose societies. As soon as I get an invite to like one of y'all's local rose societies, and if you send me one, I will like it because I'm just interested in what y'all are doing. I think rose societies are precious. I love them. But invite all of your friends and invite people who liked your posts. Let me just show you this real quick. This was a game changer. I cannot believe more people don't know about this. Social media managers don't know about this as often. If you go to, let me go to an American Rose Society page. Let's go to the gardens. If you go to a post of yours that did very well and has a lot of likes, you can click on that and you can invite people. See how I've invited them? Let me see if I can find one where I haven't. I'm pretty good about always inviting people. All right. I can invite these people. The only people that I can invite as the American Rose Center, or the American Rose Center, the only people I can invite are people who have liked my posts. That's the only people I can actually invite, like, because otherwise you would get so much spam from pages trying to get you to like them. But as Emily, let me change my role to Emily, I can invite my entire friends list. So I really encourage you, like, if your membership, just sit through. If you only got like 200, I have way too many friends to sit through and like pick every single person. 2,000, it would take me forever to like sift through them. So sometimes I just blanket select them all, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. But sit through your friend list, pick some people that you think that are like local that would like it, or just, hey, blanket invite everybody. But yeah, invite people who are liking your posts and your friends. You can also offer giveaways like this post and like our page to be entered to win a $25 gift card to like a local restaurant or something. Go to local restaurants and say, hey, would you donate one? We'll tag you as a sponsor for this giveaway. And then you can get a bunch of likes on a post. You could get 100 and you can invite all of them to like your page. So that's a really good way to get growing on Facebook, is to just invite people who have liked your posts and invite all your friends. If you have the budget for it, you can run ads on posts. And I know this, we're getting into like deeper social media territory, but I hope I'm not losing people. But yeah, so if I really wanted this to do better and I really wanted more people to see it, I can boost this post and I can put like $25 on it for an ad. Let's say you've got a really good event that's supposed to grow your membership. You can, I mean, this walks you through it. So simple. You just got to put your card up there, pick a goal, let Facebook select it for you. They're probably going to do a pretty good job selecting your goal. Type out your body copy, pick how long you want it to end. Let's say this is for an event that we're running and the event is on the 26th. I'm just going to have it stop running on the 26th and I'm going to spend $50 on it. And I want it to go on Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram, already linked up for me. And boom, you just hit boost post now and it tells me it's going to have at least every day 386 to 1,000 people are going to at least see this post. And it estimates that every day 47 to 137 people will click it. So that's really, really helpful getting seen. If you've really got something that you need people to respond to, if you've got the money for it, go ahead, run an ad or a boost. It's also a really good way to convert lurkers. I call lurkers as people who are engaged, who are looking at my page. Like my page reach might be 10,000 a month, but my engagement is like 50 or something. So I know that I've got 10,000 people who are consistently visiting my page, but they haven't really taken that dive into actually engaging with me yet. So you could hold a fun event aside from meetings and seminars to reel people in and kind of convince them and show them, because I'm sure a lot of you are better at selling what you're doing in person than we are using technology. So you could just have like we're doing an evening of wine and roses. You could just have a brunch in the gardens, or you could have garden tours or events where people can bring their kids to this, that, or the other, and really get to know people that way. And that's how I would think that you would convert those lurkers a little bit better. A lot of people are like, how do we get people to just not like our page but join us? Well, invite them out, meet them, have a little round table, do a happy hour or something. Whatever your society's into and thinks that's feasible, even if it's like a picnic or something, just give people incentive to want to come and then let them meet you. And I think they'll be much more apt to want to join. They just, people are shy, especially during COVID. So Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that. Using hashtags to be found by people with similar likes and interests is about one of the only ways to get people to just find your page, but also following others, because chances are they'll follow you back. So if I'm on Instagram and I see another rose grower from the and I'm on the American Rose Society page, I'm going to follow that rose grower because I probably know them. They've probably sent me an article before. So I'm going to follow them. And they might go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the American Rose Society had an Instagram, and they're going to follow me back. You can also offer giveaways, and if you have a budget for it, once again, you can run ads and boosts, but unfortunately, Instagram doesn't have anything where you can just invite people to follow you. That's one of the reasons why Instagram is very more organic, and you see like a lot of younger people using it, is because it's not specifically business oriented, which can be a breath of fresh air to just get on Instagram and just scroll through pictures without, obviously there are ads on Instagram, but it's not as ad heavy. And I'm not constantly getting notifications about, hey, like this page, hey, so-and-so has an event, hey, this, that, or the other. It's a little bit more laid back social media experience. Okay, so what now? Take the plunge. Like anything else, y'all, this is gonna take a little bit of practice, and luckily you have an entire American Rose Society, or well, you have me and the American Rose Society and our team who are willing to help out. I encourage you not to give up and to read these little tutorials and to just, reach out to me for help. My email is emily@rose.org. So if you have external questions or your page gets like bugged or something, there's a really good chance that it's something very simple, that there's just a knowledge gap. Like I know how to do it because I teach it and I've done it for so long, and it's nothing wrong with you not knowing how to do it. I don't know how to spot a lot of things that might be happening in my little potted garden outside. I'm like, it's just a knowledge gap. There's nothing wrong with asking for a little bit of help. So there's thousands of help articles out there. I'm here. It's not hopeless. It just takes diving in and trying. I am no rose expert, so it seems daunting and kind of impossible, the words that y'all said on that survey, to start my own little garden outside of my apartment. But it's always just been this kind of go-to excuse of mine when rosarians are like, oh, do you garden? And I'm like, no, I have an apartment. It's impossible. I don't have any space for it. Well, guess what Diane and Carrie said to me the other day? They were like, it's not impossible. Try container growing, or why don't you try this? Or have you tried this? Or have you thought about that? And I was like, crap, they're right. I really actually could. So just like I use y'all as a resource for starting my own little garden, use me as a resource for starting your social media. So with that being said, how can we help? I think that's all I've got for you. I hope I didn't lose everybody completely.
Thank you, Emily. A great instruction and a lot of information. We're going to go into a 45-minute question and answer session.
Okay.
Some of you have posted questions under the question portion. Emily would prefer to have you ask your question verbally. So raise your hand and I'll click on you and announce you. I'll unmute you, and then you unmute yourself and ask your question. So
Is
let's
there a
go
way,
ahead.
is there a way to pull my camera up? For someone so tech savvy, I'm like, wait, crap. How do I make them be able to see my face?
We can see you, Emily.
Oh, okay, great. Oops. Mine says not showing anything. Okay.
Oh, Greg Matson, you've got a question. Go ahead and ask. You may
Actually,
have
it's
to unmute
Karen.
yourself.
No, it's actually Karen Matson. So I had two questions. Earlier in the presentation, you talked about giving people to help a title. I have three questions. So can you re-say what the names of the titles were that you suggested?
Yeah, if it's something very broad, we could have, it depends on how many people in that team. You could have communications specialist. So if they do a lot of different things, let's say they take pictures, they post on your social media, they update your website, I'd call them like your communications director. And I don't know how titles work within each of y'all's Rose societies, but director is always a really good title to give somebody because it shows that they're really just like leading the team. You could have a social media director on nonprofits that I'm on that I run their social media. That's my title. Communications. I would say whatever content they're providing, if they're like, let's say you just have one person on your social media team who takes pictures, they can be your photography director, director of photography, creative directors. There's a lot of different ones. It just kind of depends on what they do. But an overarching good umbrella term is always communications strategist, specialist, or director.
So the second question you talked about is I have a Facebook group. It took me a long time to get our society to let me do it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And I've had it for 3 years now. But so I have a group and I do have it public so that people can see it. Even when my group, it'll post on my personal Facebook group and then the group. But you talked about just having a Facebook page where like everybody can see it. Now, I'd love to think I'm so Facebook savvy, but I have a freaking account that I can't get rid of that people keep sending posts to and I can't get into it and I don't know how to get rid of it. How do you do just a Facebook page that, just not the group, just that everyone just kind of traveling through Facebook searching? How do you put that in distinguish to still be able to be the admin and control it?
So if you have a Facebook profile, I would recommend keeping the group and the page linked just with your words. Just make sure that the group is called, like if it's like the Tacoma Rose Society, call it Tacoma Rose Society on the page. So your page will say Tacoma Rose Society, kind of like American Rose Society's page. But then your group should say something like members of the Tacoma Rose Society. So when I walked you through creating that page and we just clicked create new, from your personal profile, when you're logged into your personal Facebook, you will create a page from there. It used to be people were creating pages or profiles that acted as pages, but then Facebook finally was like, okay, well, we're just going to create pages. So just from your Facebook and your lost account, if you want help trying to recover it, or unless it's just a lost email or somebody just doesn't have adminship to it, I can help maybe troubleshoot that. But if you're just going to create a new one, yeah, from that, let me share my screen. From that, what's the word? Yeah, from your dashboard is where you click on that little flag icon and just click create page.
Okay.
And I would just make that the umbrella kind of thing.
Okay.
Like,
last question. The people will probably cringe about this, but I do not accept every request for membership on my group for two reasons. One, Facebook has a tendency to say, oh, you might know this person. Oh, you might want to make friends to them. I get requests to join the group and I go looking for their profile. There's nothing on their profile, but they have joined 275 groups, or they're nowhere in the country. Or I have found one who sent me twice she makes books, photographs of people's flowers. So we don't watermark our photos in our
Mhm.
group. I don't want her to be using my people's photos to create a book with. So I don't accept everyone, but that
Mhm.
other page would be a little different because it's, I'm trying to protect the ones I do have. I do send them a personal message. I say, I want to make sure you sent this. I can't see that they grew any roses. I can't see where they're located at, so that the ones in the group we're being beneficial to, and we can help grow not only the society, but the group itself. So how can you weed from that kind of people sending you invites to the group?
I think the way that you're doing it, and yeah, it is, I understand why everyone else is cringing, but the amount of friend requests I get a day, it's a lot of it is so much spam. A lot of it is fishing for information. Like I'll maybe get like 10 friend requests a day from people I've never even seen before. And
Right.
groups kind of work the same way. So I think the way that you're doing that is very strategic, is going to their page. Have they ever posted anything? And that little, you mentioned something saying they're a part of 250 other groups. That's something to watch out for sure. Especially
Right.
if they don't live in your city, they don't post anything about roses or gardening, or they don't post anything at all, and they're a part of 250 groups. That's the
Yeah,
spam
no
account.
post, and they don't even live in our country or all kinds of stuff. And the
That's a
other
spam
question,
account.
yeah, my
And
last question, I'll email you instead of sharing it.
okay.
But thank you
And
for your answers. And I've taken lots of notes, lots of
yeah,
notes.
good. I'm so glad. And yeah, I will post this PowerPoint up on the website or our social media or something, just so everybody has those links and stuff too.
Okay, thank
Mhm.
All right, Jack Riley, I see you've got a question. Go ahead and unmute. Jack?
Okay, there. I thought I had unmuted it, but I didn't. But anyway, I would like to thank you for a very good presentation. Answered a lot of questions, also made a lot of questions, but we'll work through that later. My Rose Society has a Facebook page, but we've lost the password to go in and allow any type of editing. It's been
Mhm.
suggested that we do maybe create a new Facebook page. What would you suggest? Making a new one or trying to recover or create a new password?
Trying to recover it, because you don't get locked out of your Facebook like you might Instagram. If I lose my Instagram password and I literally can never find it again and I can't get it to my email, yeah, it's gone. I need to make a new one. But Facebook's pages are tied to profiles. So somebody who created it, I would think back to when it was originally created, somebody is an admin of that page. They've got to be. Somebody's profile. So our profile is me, Emily Hamann. My page is Social Butterfly. So I'm an admin of it, and my assistant is an editor of it. So if she lost adminship to it, she'd have to be like, okay, who created Social Butterfly's page? Emily did. Hey, Emily, you're an admin. Can you re-add me as one? So I would think, I mean, unless this is a case where y'all don't even get onto your Facebook pages or your profiles, is that the case possibly?
It could possibly be, yes. It's been given to me to try to update it, and that was one of the problems was is I had no way of going in and accessing and changing the page
Mm-hmm.
and the content. And so it was suggested we make a new one, but I know from experience of creating my own Facebook group page that the how complicated and confusing that would be. So
And it
I
sucks
can
to lose those followers.
I can get I'll try and get back with the one who had set it up and have her go in and request, like any place else, to reset the password or lost the password or something like that. Is that as simple as that?
Ask them to make you an admin. So whoever you think might have created it, maybe start like an email of like anybody you can think of who might have created that page, and ask them very specifically. Remember when I showed you how to create a role as somebody as a Facebook role? They're going to have to add you as an admin to the page. So it's not about loss of a password unless you created it with like whoever created the American Rose Society page created a profile called American Rose, which is a bad habit. We cannot do that because Facebook will think we're a bot, and one day they might just shut the American Rose Society page down. Thank God we have other admins. But so it's not so much a loss of a password. Somebody needs to make you an admin of that page, and they may not know how to do that. So I can send you the tutorial for it, because somebody created it and they can give people page roles. Like, I'm an admin of the American Rose Society page, John's an admin, someone else is an editor, but we don't ever lose the password for it because we all have our passwords for our personal private Facebooks. Let me
Can we go on and find out who is an owner of this page? Is that possible from an outsider to find out who owns the page?
sometimes you can go to I'm trying to figure out how to show main screen. Why aren't you sharing? There we go. Okay, so we can go on to I can go, okay. So notice how I have logged in as Emily Hamann. This is my personal Emily Facebook. However, I have been made an admin, meaning I have access to edit and post all of these pages. So I can go to a page, and every once in a while, and this is not the best way to do it, but it's a little hack that sometimes works. You can go to About, and you can see every once in a while it'll say who's running it, but for the most part, you won't be able to see who's an admin of a page. That's why I recommend sending out like a society-wide email of just, hey, who set this page up? Can you make me an admin? And if that completely goes over their head, we can go from there. I can walk them through it, because yeah, I'd really prefer you to be able to recover that page and not lose all those followers and likes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I
yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely get with them and see if we can work this out. Sorry I took up so much of this time.
No,
But
no,
if we have
no.
any problems, we'll email you and try to work this out.
I think that's a very important thing. That's like the most common question I get asked is, I'm locked out of my page, and somebody just needs to go to settings, page roles, and type in the name. Jack, was that your name? I'm sorry. Just type
Yes,
in your
Jack.
name here and add you as an admin. And there needs to at least be a couple of admins, because if John lost his Facebook and Beth lost her Facebook, I would be our fallback. But if it was just me and I lost my Facebook, nobody can make major changes to the page ever again, and that's bad.
Yeah, and that's what I had planned on doing once I got in there, was making, several people
Yeah.
administration for this same reason right here, for what's happened. And so,
Most common mistake, and it's tragic, truly.
All right, thank you.
Adrian Rodriguez, I see you have a question. Go ahead and unmute.
Gary, he shows offline.
Oh, all right, we'll move down. All right, Jackie Nye, you have a question? Go ahead, unmute.
Hi, yes. I'm glad the other two came before me. So I'm Jackie Nye. I'm from the Rhode Island Rose Society. And what had happened was we had a page. So obviously we still have a page out there in the world. But we only had one admin. And yeah, she didn't know how to. So now I could probably have a conversation with her on how to, so that I decided, I'm like, well, no one else could post to it, only she could. So we decided to make a group, which if I made this group, I already made it, just said Rhode Island Rose Society. Can I change the name of the group, or do I lose my followers?
No, you can change the name of your group. The only thing is Facebook is a little sensitive, so I couldn't change American Rose Center to like Shreveport Garden. It's got to be somewhat in the same realm, but
Yeah,
small
so what if
changes.
you had said members of the Rhode Island Rose Society, that I can name it that. And I think that will help. In some ways, some of the other people had said the same kinds of things. I don't mind people come to Rhode Island Rose Society, because that page is what comes up on Google searches,
Yeah.
not the group. Okay, so I wanted to connect them somehow, and then I would think that any Tom, Dick, and Harry would be looking at the page, but I have my group as a private, so that only members or people who live in New England, because we have like a whole totally different zone, planting, what we need. I do have one person's been reposting like another person's YouTube pages all the time, and I'm like, oh no, we can't put our crown at ground level. We have to go 2 to 4 inches below, So I'm like trying to tell him, like, now I put, as an admin, I had made him that he has to ask permission to post now, because I was like, oh no, you're putting on stuff that doesn't fit for us. And I didn't think that, because he was an exhibitor, I didn't think he was going to be reposting somebody else's crazy YouTube videos on roses. So I was like, okay, learn that lesson. So that was a way that we kept it. But if I turned it to members of the Rhode Island Rose Society as a group, what would happen if I opened it up to public again? Would it still be every Tom, Dick, and Harry around the?
Yeah, anybody could join it. You can always kick people out. So groups, we call the main leader of it a moderator. So you can set people, like you did that one guy, that you have to approve their posts before they go up. And I definitely recommend that if you make it public. I also recommend be a watchdog, like everybody who's coming in. Like if you have
I had a friend who, she was a friend plus so she could message me, plus a member of this group. And she said to me, she goes, oh, did you see that post this week? And I've had some crazy stuff. And someone put something about, some religious topic. And I was like, oh, Nelly, no.
Yeah, you have to be really careful.
With Rosa now, she is a member of our Rose Society, but we don't need that on here. So, I just kind of knocked that out.
There's also, when you're on your groups and your pages, and because I deal with this a lot, especially come election season, I can block specific words from being used on the page. So if I let people post or visitors post things and comment, because comments is really where people get nasty, as I'm sure you've seen. So you can even go into your settings and you can block specific words from being said, which I have to do very frequently.
Great.
Most people, like, you'll know the words that people don't want to hear. Like, it's just, you just gotta be a little careful. And they have like swear word censors and stuff too, because for the most part, I put mine on like medium, or I put mine on high, because I want people to be able to say like little tiny swear words. But if you're like a bunch of them, I'm sure you're just being mean to somebody. So there's a lot of ways to control, just to moderate. So you're the moderator, you've taken on a pretty big role. So you have to kind of check who's jumping in the group, make sure they're following just basic community standards. And you can, I'm sure you have a list of rules like no politics, no religion, be nice to everybody, respect everybody, this, that, or the other. This is a rose growing, this is not a sales page, a lot of different rules. And then, yeah, you can kick somebody out. It's a freeing feeling sometimes. But hopefully you don't
Um,
ever have to.
Yeah, the next thing that after this discussion, I think it would be easy for me to, because I'm the chair of the Yankee District for photography, so I have access to a lot of photos. And so what I'd like to do is do the Instagram, but that has to be board approved. I mean, it doesn't cost them anything, but they're very, very skittish. We still have a paper newsletter at Rhode Island Rose Society. We're not even
Wow.
digital yet, but I'm the newsletter editor in Connecticut, so I am digital there. But I do get content, and plus I'm, on yours and Rose Chat and and Paul Zimmerman, and I share a lot of that stuff. So they're happy, and we're starting to get members from these posts, and especially when I get to repost it to like Cape Cod gardeners and Rhode Island gardeners, and then I broaden the reach for local people who might be gardeners and thought, oh no, I don't want to touch roses. So
Which some of our favorite people is like, you can, anybody can grow, y'all can grow roses. Yeah, when you get pushback, just ask them like, hey, do we want rose societies to be something that's everlasting, something that continuously makes, like, just celebrates the beauty of roses? That's what I have to say all the time, is like, whenever I'm trying to push for something that is new age or something, I'm like, we've got like technologies here. I like some aspects of it, hate others. As much as I am good at running social media, I kind of hate doing it sometimes. I want to throw my phone into the river because I'm tired of the notifications. But I mean, it's here, and I think Instagram is a really great one. Just like, I mean, they don't have to run it. Everyone's getting credit, and also we want to reach other people. Don't you want like all age groups to know that rose growing is for everybody? Because I mean,
Right.
yeah, it can be for everybody. I mean, yeah, there is before, when I first started the year I was here, I was just like, gosh, this is such an intense community. I don't know that I could ever be able to grow roses. And Beth was like, no, that's not the way. No. And so it just, we just have to combat little stigmas like that and I mean, Instagram is where you're going to get them. They're like, these are beautiful. I want my yard full of these.
right.
Also, I knew, oh, sorry, keep going.
I just have one quick question on that. So I haven't touched it in years. At the time, maybe 10 years ago, if Instagram was at the time, my kid said to me, you got to have an Instagram, Mom. You're always doing photos. But I haven't been back to it. Once I have my account, right, and I can get into my account, how do I link that to Rhode Island Rose Society?
I'm glad you asked. So
Because supposedly I do have that, because I get a lot of messages that people have posted to my Instagram, but I haven't looked at it in years.
Also, it is so nice to be able to like hear y'all's voices next to you, because I knew I recognized your name, and then you said photography, and I was like, yes, I've posted your rose photos. I've used them in the magazine. Yep, I recognize you. Okay, so when you're on this page settings, linking them is so helpful. So there's a whole tab for it. They make it real easy. Just click on Instagram, and we're already linked, and I don't want to disconnect it.
Right.
But let me see if there's one that I haven't linked quite yet. I'm sure not. Let me go to this one. Okay, Instagram. Okay, go to my settings. Instagram. Dang, I've already linked this one too. Well, it'll just ask you to log in from this back end, and it's just as simple as that.
So it's from my Facebook group, and then I can link it to Instagram from there.
Not your Facebook group. If you have a Facebook page, you can't link groups, because groups are.
Oh, okay.
They're
Link
not
the page once I get in.
Yes, once you get in. And once you get in, yes, then you can link it from there. And if what you said, it's the Rhode Island?
Yeah, Rhode Island Rose Society. So the page is there, and it hasn't been touched in at least 3 years.
Okay.
Because no one could get in.
Let's see if we can see. No. I wonder who it says. Yeah, it used to be you could see who runs it. You can also try sending them a message, and like if you're sitting the next time you're at one of your meetings, send the group a message and see whose phone goes off, because they can access it.
I think I know who has it. Thank God it's not someone who's already passed. That would be really sad. But
There's
know,
even a way, I've even recovered people's pages that way. You can get onto some, if you can provide a record of someone's passing, you can get onto their page and you can turn it into a memoriam page so that people can post
oh, good.
memorials for them. And
I
then you
wish
can
that there was
take
a
over
lot
their
of my
page.
friends, the poor things, they've passed, and I'm still getting messages from them. I'm like, oh, I'm not
Oh gosh.
from the grave. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. No,
But
we can post
that
to
would be
them.
good.
They don't say anything back to us.
No, that's good. That's good. Because, like you said, that continues to get hits when they Google it, and everybody's going, but how can we get to this? And then all I do is send them the link and tell them this is how you get to here. And
Yeah.
I'd rather do it the other way around. So this was very, very helpful to me.
Good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you have a very nice page. I really do hope you recover it. You've got the logo as the profile picture, just like I recommended. 5 stars, beautiful cover photo. Yeah, I do hope you can get back in. If not, feel free to email me.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Karen Freeman, you have your hand up for a question. Go ahead, unmute and ask.
Hi, Emily. I'm calling from Cincinnati, the Greater Cincinnati Rose Association. I set up a Facebook page 10 years ago. We also have a website through WordPress that my son helps us with, and an Instagram account. Now, when I set up the Facebook page 10 years ago, I set it up as a nonprofit for the Greater Cincinnati Rose Association, and I used one of my Gmail addresses. So now that we have Instagram, which I also set up for Greater Cincinnati with my email address, one of my Gmail addresses, and also the website. So is it difficult to change? I know I need to get a different email for this purpose, for the GCRA. So I wondered if you could give me some tips on how to do that.
So you're just wanting to change the email that it's linked to?
Yeah, I think I should.
Okay. Facebook makes it pretty easy, but the only thing I would worry about is every once in a while, because this is all plugins and coding and JavaScript on the back end of everything, is I've seen before where people change their email and they might get stuck in a loop. So we have to follow a process, the correct process. And that would be, so I pulled up your page. Sorry, not to be stalkerish. I was just curious.
That's fine. That's fine.
And I want to make sure I'm liking them all. Okay. So if I were to change the email, you can't change the email of this page because once again, I'm just an admin of it. I would be changing the email of my personal profile. So if you're going to change Instagram's email, you can just go on there and change it. So I would not recommend changing your personal Facebook, this right here. I would not recommend changing that email because this is you. Like if you said to heck with roses and never touched them again and gave somebody else the page, your email will be tied, or their email will be tied to your personal page, and you don't want that. So you can change your Instagram email, but you don't need to change your Facebook's. When you go to change that Instagram though, just to be safe, I would go to your settings and I would check that little Instagram tab and make sure it's all still linked up. You might need to just refresh it because whenever it's polling your Instagram, it's logging on the back end every time. So it might get stuck and be like, wait, the email changed, the login information changed. So you might just need to refresh it here, but only change your Instagram email because right here, remember, that's just tied to your personal life, not the page itself. We only give people access through adminship.
Yeah, because the Instagram page is not my personal page. It is for the GCRA, but I use my one of my personal Gmail accounts because it has to be connected to, a Gmail address or to an email address. So I just wondered, but I do also need to get an additional admin to our page. So I learned that from this today. I feel that's an important thing I did not know.
It's just good to have those checks and balances and always 2 admins because an editor will never be able to change
Okay.
information. They
Okay.
can't change this. All they can do is change your cover photos, this. They can change little things, but they can't change the title, and they can post. But an admin has total control.
Okay.
You want at least one fallback of total control, maybe somebody who's never ever going to post on it, somebody you trust. Maybe it is just a family member, maybe it's, you know, somebody else. But, and I think even, yeah, their Meta Business Suite is completely new. It can be a little daunting. Even for me, it's brand new because
Yeah, it is. I know. I've had some, it's quite a lot. It's overwhelming, actually.
I don't need
Look at
all
it.
these tools. And the more they change it, like I keep learning it and then they change it again. And I'm like, you're lucky I'm tech savvy. But
Yeah.
I think you can even add, if you really want to, I'm pretty sure you can add an email as a fallback owner of your page over here. So you could, if you wanted to link that email, but I don't know that it's all that necessary. I just wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, if you get really into it, you can add your email to your Meta Business Suite. But hey, why even try if they're just going to change it in a year anyway?
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And I may contact you directly to figure out, because the other thing I was going to ask you about is the hashtags. When I post on Instagram, and we're going to have a big rose event, and I want the other garden things around our community to hear about it, I do hashtag roses, hashtag gardens, hashtag a certain group like 365 Cincinnati, but I can't remember them all. And every time I put a post, it's like, now what was this one? What was that one? I wish there was a copy paste.
There is. So that's what I do whenever I'm posting on the fly on my phone. I have a note in my phone, because on my notes app, and it has one. I have one for each of my clients with general hashtags. So if I'm doing like a stylist showcase for like a salon, I pull that set of hashtags and I can amend them in the moment. When I'm doing ones for the American Rose Society, I have specific hashtags that I pull from. And I will say this, since you're into hashtags already, rose is very general and very vague, and will probably attract some spam or just people who will probably not join you, but will follow and gas you up and like all your pictures. But the more we can add in geo-targeted hashtags, that's how you're going to find new members. So you could say roses Cincinnati, Cincinnati roses, Cincinnati gardens. You said, is it 365 is y'all's area code? You will know those better than I will. So I would do SBC roses, Shreveport Bossier roses, Shreveport Rose Society, those geo-targeted ones, because like the very broad ones, you'll get followers, but they're not necessarily going to join, but it's nice to just have followers. But rose, the amount of people who click on the rose hashtag a day is upwards of like 1 million or something like that. So just keep that in mind. It may not be targeted, but you could do roses, rose lovers, rose growers. And I'm telling you, I just go to people like the Rose Geeks and I copy theirs. I used to do that for, I don't want to like say all these podcasts because I don't know where they stand with the ARS now, but I would just go to all these like reputable sources who do very well on Facebook, like all of these hybridizers and rose growers that we put in the magazine. Went to their Facebooks and I found what y'all are saying, because it's what you guys are saying at the end of the day. I mean, I need to know how y'all are speaking, and I would realize like, oh, okay, they don't say rose lovers. They said, I can't remember what one of them was, but yeah, just doing a little bit of research, and yeah, copy and paste them, put them in a note on your phone or a note on your desktop, because girl, you can't sit there and type all those hashtags every day.
No, you can't. I figured there had to be an easier way.
Yeah,
Well,
just highlight them, tap copy and paste.
I'll contact you with any more questions. You've been really helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Linda Freeman, I unmute you and you have a question. Go ahead and ask, unmute.
Thank you for a great presentation. And we too, of course, lost the password. We know who the admin was, but since it's been about 5 years and we just created another page attached to a profile of another member, and that seems to work out really well. The only problem is when we set up that other page, we somehow did not get logged in as a nonprofit. And so we're trying to figure out how we can make that new page a nonprofit, because that's probably the page we're going to keep, because that's the one we've gotten people to go to and look at and have all our videos and activities stored. And then the other thing is, if the person that has that profile with the new page that's being, used does not want to have that link to their profile anymore or moves, is there a way to link it to another profile?
Yes. So that's that term of like those Facebook roles that I showed you. If they decide that they don't want to be an admin anymore, they can add somebody else as an admin. But that's why I say have like at least like 2 or 3 of trusted people to be one, because one day she might get, or I mean, not her specifically, but somebody might have a falling out. And if they just take themselves off the page, everybody has lost it. But even if it is an amicable split, she doesn't have to go through the process. You don't have to hound them because you've already got those people. So she can take herself off at any time she wants, as long as you've got a couple of other admins on the back end, or she makes somebody else an admin. And I can, and that's, once again, that's just clicking on your page roles right here and typing in whoever else you want to be the admin. In fact, I'm going to edit her right now, make her an admin. I'm telling y'all all this and I only got one admin. But yeah, you just type in their name or their email up here, and
so then they can be the admins as if somebody, passes away, let's say, or moves and, is not part of the society any longer.
Yes, because that's worst case scenarios. You have a falling out or somebody passes away and they were the only admin. And I'm not even going to go into page owners. You might be a page owner, but that goes along with the Meta Business Suite. So if you really lose your page, so these people, if there's anybody listening who has truly, truly lost their page, it is quite possible we could find it, because you might be a page owner and you've got something on the Business Suite back end, but that's a little convoluted. That's a whole separate webinar. But all hope is not totally lost, but also don't get your hopes too terribly up. It's hard to recover this way, but it is definitely possible. But yeah, and the nonprofit, let me pull that up. So you can add that you're a nonprofit. There's like a little badge, and I want to say you can just change it under your category. Also, if anybody says that they know every single thing about social media, they are wrong, because half the time I have to Google things. I tell my students all the time, I'm like, do you think I just know the answer to that very specific random question you just asked? Google it. This is a lot of our job, because also Facebook changes every single week. So it used to be I could click on a sidebar and there was a whole tab for nonprofits. Now there is not. So
is that in that new Business Suite or the Meta Suite?
Meta Suite is more for checking insights, like how well your page is doing. Your page settings is where you're going to add it as a nonprofit. I'm just trying to figure out which section it is, because there is a spot. Okay, so I'm going to share this real quick. So if you go to your page settings and click on donations, you have to sign up, and I think you guys will all have the paperwork.
Yeah.
But this right here is telling me that I'm not an authorized nonprofit. So the ARS had to go through, we had to submit our paperwork saying that we're a 501c3. And it's pretty easy to do if you've got somebody who's like your treasurer or really good with like numbers and has all that financial records and stuff. That's probably going to be the person that will have to work in tandem with your tech savvy person on setting that up. But let me grab for nonprofits. Let's see. Yeah, go to your organization's page, click add button. If you already had a button, hover over it. Yeah, so it's helpful to get signed up on one first. Let me see if I can't send that link.
Because then the next question, and I saw that already on the page you just showed, then that we can then set up donation drives, because we own a 3-acre garden, and so of course we're always looking for money, and so this way we can get donations to some of our events or whatever.
Yes,
right?
So I would definitely go to that donations tab on your page setting.
And that'll start the nonprofit registration.
Yeah, I think that you have to, in order to accept donations, I think that when you start to follow that process, and I might be wrong, it's been a minute since I've done it and they've changed the process, but I think when you start that process, it's going to give you like a fork in the road, and it's like, are you just accepting donations for such and such, or are you a nonprofit and can we give you a badge?
Okay.
Let me go to the American Rose Center's page, because I know I've set up all of them as a nonprofit. And it helps to add that as a category as well. Whenever you're creating your page, say that you are a nonprofit. Let's see. Yeah, and they wouldn't change the front end of all of them for some of them. Only one of my pages has made the switch somehow. It's annoying. But yeah, when you hit that donation page, it should walk you through it. If not, feel free to email me and I'll pull up the process of how we did it for the American Rose Society page. It was not a quick process, I will just say that, but they will at least get you set up to do donations, whether or not they give you that nonprofit stamp or badge. You'll at least get started on donations while you finish the rest of the process.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question.
All right, Lori Emery, you have a question? Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, yes, I do. Thank you so much for an excellent webinar. I've got a question. This is a dumb thing. I probably should have just emailed you, but I'm a little confused on the email. You said to go ahead and use a Gmail for that. When are you going to set that up on your Facebook page?
So the reason that I requested getting a Gmail is not for Facebook so much. Gmail is just, we have, like, let's say, I'm going to keep saying Tacoma. I don't know why I always think Tacoma Rose Society, but let's say we are Tacoma Rose Society and we are making a Gmail account that all the main members have access to. That Gmail account is going to be tied to your YouTube, your Google Drive, which is just a foldering system so you can share posters, PowerPoints, Rose photos. It's going to be tied to your YouTube, your email account, Instagram, and that little file sharing system. So the only reason that I say get a unified one is because a lot of you, I'm sure, are struggling with not being able to log in to different accounts. It happens all the time. Every time somebody new comes into every position I've ever gone to, somebody's like, oh, well, so-and-so created this account and we don't have the password for it or the email. If you have that one email, when somebody leaves, the email doesn't go with them, it stays with your Rose Society. And the only reason I recommend Gmail is because you have access to, let me show you. I love it. I promise I don't get commission for it, but I really should. Let's go to Drive. So my business page is tied to my Gmail. So I have my business's email tied to my browser so that it logs into things automatically. It's tied to my YouTube. It's tied to my Google Drive, all of my information, all of my client stuff, my quotes, my financials. This PowerPoint is shared with the American Rose Society's Gmail, so I can just real quick click over here and I could access it there. I can share everything. So you could put a folder for rose photos, social media content, like all the different things your Rose Society has, financial records, meetings, and then you can even go to, I could even go to a calendar and I can post all my events through my calendar. And it's just really, really helpful. Like the way the American Rose Society's works, I'm not going to pull theirs up. So these are all, I work with my assistant. These are all the different posts that are going out this month, and they're linked to content in my Google Drive. Like it's very nice to have it all seamless. And it's one of the easiest tools because I'm very big on don't give me a bunch of tools I don't need. But it's free. My Google Drive, I think I pay $10 a month and I will never ever fill this up. Like it just got to a point where I was putting so much in here and it was like $10 a month and I was like, all right, cool. It's already my email, it's my YouTube, it's everything. So that's the only reason I'm recommending Gmail. But yeah, once again, Facebook, you do not need an email for. You need a profile. So whoever's going to run this doesn't get the login, like the email and the password, they get adminship. And I know that's kind of confusing because literally nobody else runs logins like that, but it just kind of works. Facebook did that because they're tired of having people get locked out of their accounts because they don't have passwords. And because Facebook has so much money tied to it and so much spam tied to it, the admin thing is a very artful but confusing solution. So you won't tie your new email to this. You will just tie an admin to it, but tie your new email to Instagram and everything. I'm sorry, I got way on a tangent, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually out of time here. Thank you, Emily. And I think it goes back to Kim. Is that you next?
Yes, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Emily, so much for a wonderful presentation. We really appreciated it. And thank you all for attending. If you did not get a chance to ask Emily your question, you can definitely email her. Emily, did you give it the Rose Center email address?
Yes, it's emily@rose.org. Rather than messaging questions on Facebook, because sometimes those get lost in the mix, just send me a quick email because that acts as a to-do list and I will never delete it or folder it until I've taken care of it.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a few questions in chat, Emily, that I'll also forward over to you. But again, you can email Emily at emily@rose.org if you did not get a chance to verbally ask her your question. And again, thank you all so much. Keep watch on our website, rose.org, get the calendar to see what's coming up. Also on our Facebook page, Emily does a great job with promoting what's coming up next. And we will see you all at the next webinar. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Hey, don't forget to set your clocks ahead tonight. Those of us who are in daylight savings time states, it happens tonight at 2 a.m.
Gary, I forgot. All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.